everybody. This is Ginger Watley, and this is Ginger's Rant Show, and it's Wednesday, December 21st, and it's 29 degrees, partly sunny. We did get snow last night here. I would say about inch and a half, depending on the area. Some parts of Lakewood is hilly, so, north of here, they got it more than we did down here. Hey, Nancy! I'm icing I'm icing my hand right now, and it's sore, so, a little bit swollen up, so I'm icing it right now. So anyway, I hope all is well in Wisconsin. I don't know if you guys got any more snow or not. North of here, what did we say? Skagit County, Friday Harbor, this is like near the San Juan Islands. Friday Harbor, Everett, some parts got anywhere from 8 to 11 inches of snow. Just shy of a foot. So they're having fun trying to get around. It depends on where the snow bands fall. Okay, well, it's coming your way. You'll get the, depends on what jet stream is, but you'll probably get our storm to your place. So be ready for it, yeah. I have a friend that lives in Spearfish, South Dakota, and that's where my dad grew up. She's got, what'd she say, about a foot and a half of snow. Her car was buried. She showed pictures of it, having to dig it out and everything. Had a neighbor help dig it out, and yeah. Some areas are getting it worse than others. It just depends on where the jet stream falls, more than anything. Anyway, happy winter solstice to those that are Wiccan. Be blessed. That's their greeting. And of course, Christmas is close. Many of my neighbors here are Jewish, and so they're celebrating their Hanukkah, which is, I'm happy for them. So it's been, some days it's like I said, some snow off and on. We're supposed to get more snow tonight and through Friday. It depends on what the jet stream will fall. So anyway, on to other news. President Zelensky is here in the United States. He's visiting with President Biden, and they discussed a number of things, and of course I noticed, but anyway, Putin is so quiet, it's not even funny. President Solstice is supposed to get more aid, and he's going to also be addressing the joint session of Congress tonight. So this will happen 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would be 4:30 my time here in the Pacific Coast. And so I'll be watching that. Also, President Zelensky is visiting with other congressional members as well. I guess he's supposed to be here for a day or two, and then he has to fly back to Ukraine and finish and direct the war, pretty much. I just wish in many ways that Putin would just stop reparations, in other words, pay Ukraine back, help them rebuild, and profuse do a hard apology and say, this shouldn't have happened, shouldn't have been done. Hi, Dorothy. How are things in your neck of the woods? Hey, Virginia. It's a little bit sore still. It's swelled up a little bit today, and so I'm icing it. So I'm not trying to use it very much. Kind of hard when you do things and you don't realize how much you use your left hand for. I'm dominant right-handed, but yeah, you don't realize how much you miss an appendage when it's had to have surgery on it or been injured or whatever, and you get sore. Hey, Paula, welcome. Good seeing you. Yay! I need more viewers, guys. I need more, share. I need more subscribers on my YouTube channel, too. And I'll be working on some stuff over the holidays, over the Christmas weekend, and see what I could do to liven things up for it. I hope to next month. Yeah, I know. I try not to use it, but it's a little hard. I'm not supposed to, with this hand, lift anything heavier than a soda can. A soda can is like 8 ounces. So, anyway, I get the stitches out on the 29th. And so that's why it's sore, because the stitches kind of make it sore. And of course, you have scar tissue build up and everything, so I just try to, rest it and work with it and everything else. Anyway, back to the news. Anyway, to President Solstice, welcome to the United States, and I hope that your visit is productive and fruitful. And he says, I'm not going to negotiate with Russia. They're the ones that instigated this. And the only way to get things peaceful back in the Eastern Front is to stop the war. Pull out, stop the war, pay for the damages, and just let it go. I don't think, what are you doing? Oh, hey. My cat was playing with the tie. What are you doing, Loki? Don't you use your claws. That's better. He went to lay down in his favorite spot, so that's good. Anyway, Putin needs to drop it and let go. And also he needs to resign, and Russia government needs to go democratic and to stop this crap. Okay? Because I would imagine that economic-wise, internal economic-wise, on their part, they're not doing very well. But they lost a lot of business. They really have. And a lot of companies don't agree with Putin and what he's doing. I don't agree with him. You just don't arbitrarily go into another sovereign country and try to take it over. And he still uses the same old Iron Curtain excuses, too. So, let's see. Oh, another thing too, China's been making rattling swords, and they've been threatening to invade Taiwan. Well, China, I got news for you. You need to leave Taiwan alone. They're a sovereign country. They don't belong to you. So leave them alone. Just work on solving your own problems at your own home area and just leave Taiwan alone. And if, we need to recognize Taiwan as a country. And it is a country. And if China doesn't like it, tough. So China, grow up and stop this great schoolyard. Yeah, it is poor Russia. Poland. Yeah, Russia is poor right now. They just lost their credit rating. By the way, I think it was like 3-4 months ago they lost their credit rating. So they're not doing very well. A lot of their, what their oligarchs did was basically raid their military budget money, which they didn't have any money to do any upgrades, like on their planes, on their tanks, army, their navy. They didn't have any money, and I don't think Putin really understood what was going on. I don't think he was paying attention. Because here in the United States, we don't allow that. Border, you mean our southern border issue, Virginia? Well, I think many of the Congress and other, including some of the GOP radical idiots, are forgetting how and why our country was founded. People are trying to make things better for themselves. And they want to get away from tyranny. They want to get away from violence and everything else. All they want to do is live peaceful lives. So with the border issue, we should just have it open and just set rules. And, use common sense. Where's it, Loki? Oh, he's playing games. But, they keep talking about immigration. Well, I don't think they're trying very hard. And what they really need to do is go through all these rules. They keep slapping on rules, and they're forgetting they're being redundant. And they're not using common sense. And what they really need to do, this part of immigration needs to do, is put themselves in other people's shoes of why they want to come here. Okay? So as far as the border goes, it needs to be open, and we need to help them get away from tyranny and violence. Because you've got some dictators down there in the South America area. Now I know, was it Bolivia or was it Argentina? One of the two countries, they did arrest their one president that was trying to do dumb stuff, and right now he's in jail. Yeah, I agree there, Paula. The GOP is no longer the GOP that I knew and I grew up with. Yes, I came from a Republican household. But I did not always agree with their policies, okay? It's sort of funny, my mom's sister and brother-in-law, my mom's sister and her husband were Democrats. But they had more liberal views, and I agreed with many of those views. And of course, my mom couldn't understand why I agreed with him. I said, Mom, don't you want things to get better? You really want things to improve. And even to my surprise, my dad, when I worked for Boeing, he encouraged me to join the union there. I was the yeah, we need more agents, but also we need to overhaul and revamp ICE. I mean, is ICE really necessary? I mean, do we really need to have that necessary uh, agency there? What I would suggest is use the Border Patrol and not use ICE. In other words, take ICE and disband it and use the Border Patrol. Um, and you need people in Border Patrol with a little bit more compassion and a little bit more knowledge. Um, right now, he who shall not be named should be indicted and in jail, along with his cronies. And right now, those four that were named in the January 6th committee are being referred to the Ethics Committee. Those are like Jordan, with three others, including Green should be named in there too because they condoned the insurrection. Well, those guys should not be sworn back in. They should be booted and not allowed to run for office again. They should get their pay docked. In other words, they should be taught a hard lesson. Like, this is what you don't do. But like I said in my previous thing about China with Taiwan, China needs to leave them alone. You need to leave Taiwan alone. And China is trying to hog the reason why our prices for like our cell phones, our computers and everything else, China is trying to corner all the microchips. So that's why we're building a microchip plant here. So we could have yeah, they may be tough then, Virginia, but they were also narrow-minded. They were kind of ignorant and narrow-minded and not putting themselves in other people's shoes. In other words, I think ICE lost some of its filters. Okay. But anyway, with our microchip plant here, it would help bring the prices down for our cell phones and everything. I need to replace my cell phone. Because sooner or later it's starting to do funny things, and so I'm going to be looking at switching over to Verizon and getting a cell phone there. Right now I'm with Xfinity Mobile, but I'm going to go back to Verizon. And another thing in the news, speaking of companies and CEOs and everything else, Elon Musk had stepped down as a CEO from Twitter. He put out a poll and said, I will abide by the poll. Do you still want me to remain as CEO or do you want somebody else? Well, he got a big response back, well over anywhere from 57% or more responded that they want him out because he's not suited for that job. He doesn't know how social programs work. Okay. How they're set up and everything. So, Loki says hi. Hi, Loki. Here, Loki says hi. I see you're tail. So, yeah, he is obtuse. It's amazing on his SpaceX how he's doing. Of course, there are more people more knowledgeable than him in rocket, what do you call it? Space engineering, everything else, rocket engineering, that type of thing, and design. They know more than he does. And Musk doing all the things he doesn't, because he was born in South Africa. He does not know how this country works and how it's set up. Because what he's doing on everything, he's violating federal law in some way. Okay? He got in trouble in California when he started laying off Twitter employees, letting them go. And he was doing it like less than 2 weeks before. You're supposed to give 60 days. And he violated California state law on that. And so the Secretary of State of California went after him and said, no, you can't do that. You have to give 60 days or 120-day notice. Okay? When you have X number of people or more working for a company. Put this down now. It's done icing pretty much. So I'm kind of glad he's out as CEO, and I think the employees and the ex-employees and the CEO that he fired should buy the company back from him and get the old team back. You know, Musk is not cut out for something like that. Okay? He has to understand that freedom of speech is freedom of speech. He has to read the Constitution all over again and read the history of why it was put in there. Okay? Let's see, where's my other pen? Where did the pen go? There it is. Alright. Okay. Of course, you know, in the last few days, ever since the January 6th committee meeting, put out their final report and the recommendations to the DOJ. Yeah. Yeah, McConnell went after Trump. I think McConnell should just give the minority leader position to somebody else. McConnell, the way he's acting like he's still majority leader. He's still trying to run everything. Well, you're not majority leader anymore, McConnell. You're a minority leader. So what part of majority, minority, you don't understand? That's my thinking on this. Anyway, with Trump being criminally referred to the DOJ, oh, I'm sure Mr. Smith is taking this very, very seriously because they're now handing over all the evidence and the interviews that they gathered. Now, there are those that did not honor the subpoena. Those are the 4 that did not honor it. They're also being criminally referred to the DOJ, and the DOJ will go after them on that. They keep pleading the 5th. When they plead the 5th, that's pretty much lying. That's pretty much showing that they're guilty. If they think they're innocent, then why do they keep pleading the 5th? And say, okay, yeah, this and that and the other, you know, so they wouldn't get in trouble. But those four, including Jordan, are being really kind of obtuse and stupid. And Trump is being obtuse and stupid. And you saw those NFT cards that he tries to peddle and everything else. I think he's trying to raise money for his lawyer fees because the GOP is no longer supporting Trump on the legal fees. They're already in deep trouble anyway. So they lost a lot out of it. Not only that, but there was some talk that GOP may be receiving foreign funds from Russia, which is also very illegal. Okay? I have a cat that's snoring. I could feel him snoring on my right hand. So anyway, he should be indicted ASAP. And I'm sure Mr. Smith is moving very swiftly on that. And Garland will say, yeah, indict him. Now, Georgia's going to indict Trump, the state of Georgia, because he violated state law. And the Georgia, they're a mirror agency called Georgia Bureau Investigation, GBI. Yeah, I know. Well, a lot of his lawyers are quitting. So, yeah. So anyway, again, he should be charged, indicted, charged, and jailed. Treated like anybody else. And I don't care if he was the quote-unquote former president of the United States. President of the United States is not supposed to violate laws like that. They should know better. Keep in mind, President Biden was a lawyer. He used to be a prosecutor for the state of New Hampshire. And so, he knows how things work. Now, as far as President Biden thinking of running for the 2024, he may not, okay? Yeah, I agree there, Virginia. He's been screwing his own base, and you think his own base would wake up. I wouldn't, You want a viable person or candidate that's running for office, federal office, that has a squeaky clean record. So no violations, no parking tickets, no this and that and the other. And just follows the law. Now, if you don't like the law, and you think there is an anomaly to that law, then go to your state or state house or Senate and say, hey, I think you need to change this. It's not really working very well. Well, like for example, real quick here, there was a state law here that did not, for babysitters to watch other children for, parents at work have to go to this was a long time ago, this is like well over 30 years ago, oh, I don't blame you, Virginia, I watched some of them too, but anyway, like in that law, it was against state law or state regulation to have your children being watched by a neighbor that's not certified. Well, a lot of parents could not afford child care, and where they lived did not have adequate child care services in the area. I lived at Roy at the time, and Roy did not have any preschool or after school trying to set that up, but we were kind of out in the farm country, and so it was easier to have a neighbor watch the child. And so I had a neighbor watch the child for me, and some busybody complained about it, and I told the busybody, go buzz off. And so I went to my state senator and told her what was going on, and she goes, yeah, there is a thing in the works to change that. Because you have grandparents, aunts, uncles, and everything else to watch their kids, family members. Well, I didn't really have any family members living close by. First close by was my mom, and she lives in Puyallup, and that's like 45 minutes, or 35, 40 minutes away. And so, yeah, it was kind of a logistics issue more than anything. So anyway, I hope you enjoy your Wednesday. Be sure to insist, persist, and share. I will post this video on my YouTube channel. Please, I need subscribers in order to simultaneously stream. Okay? Because I like to, do it at the same time and skip the one step of having to manually put in the video on my YouTube channel. I like to stream it at the same time. Okay? So, anyway, I hope all is well with everybody. Please stay safe from all the storms that we've been having. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And I will see you guys on Friday. I will. I'll see you guys on Friday. Love you all. Okay? Bye-bye.